So this video, we're just gonna make it kind of simple or try to simplify the way how to do VA math. VA math is not a 1 plus 1 equals 2. It's not a 1 plus 1 equals 3. It's a percentage of a percentage that's taken. Best way to explain it is you are a pizza pie. When you get your ratings, you are taking percentages of that pizza pie away. So when you start with your first rating, it takes that amount away, that percentage away from 100%. You are 100% a pizza pie. When you get that 50% first rating or whatever it may be, you are taking 50% of that pie away. Now you have 50% left. So now your next rating will take a percentage of that 50%. So if you have another 50% rating, it is 50% being taken of 50%, which leaves you with 25%. And you proceed with the disability ratings that you have. So basically the pie keeps getting smaller because you keep on taking those percentages away from that 100%. So people are trying to get to 100%, but the people fail to realize that you may be getting paid at a certain rate, but if you fall under a certain number, that is the criteria you need to know. That's what's the most important aspect to get yourself to 100%, because now you know what percentages you need, and how you may get them depends on where the percentage points comes from to get to 100%. If you are rated at 84%, you are getting paid at the 80 rank. But if you are getting paid, if you have an 85, you get paid at the 90% rate. The same way, once you get to 95, you get to 100%. But that does not mean you are total and permanent. That means you're getting paid at 100% at the 90 with a 95% rating. I know, sounds difficult. We'll go through a couple of these examples here within the video so that way we can explain it and show you with the ratings table how to go through it, and we will show you a pie as we keep on filling it up to try to get to 100%. Keep in mind, VA math is not that difficult. It's just, you just have to know how to calculate it. With this, we'll show you where it is on Title 38, Chapter 4. We'll see the ratings table. We'll go through the examples. We'll go through the steps. That way, when you have your disability ratings, if you have any issues, you can always refer to that document, look at that chart, and start adding your numbers to get to the percentage you need. Keep in mind, it's a whole person concept that they like to put it as. The best way I like to explain it is the pizza pie method, so that people understand it a bit easier, that it's a percentage of a percentage that you're taking. You're just not adding 50% plus 50% to get to 100%. It's 50% of the remaining 50% or whatever remaining amount. That's what that next rating percentage is. That's how you're classifying it, and that's how you're taking care of it. So let's get into a couple of these examples. How we're going to do this for this iteration is just basically showing you how VA math works using the Title 38, Chapter 1, Part 4, 4.25, the combined ratings table, and also showing it with a pie chart showing how it increases and how you get yourself to 100% or the percentage that you have left. So that way it's better explained, because VA math is not a 1 plus 1 equals 2. It is a percentage of a percentage. So the best way of explaining it is saying, hey, you are a pizza pie, and you are taking pieces of the pie with the percentages of the ratings you get in order to get to 100%. So we have our example of having a 50% sleep apnea rating, a 50% migraines rating, a 20% lumbosacral strain rating, 10% tinnitus, and 10% cervical spine degenerative. So we would go and start by going to 50, which is right here. So this is where we would start at, 50%. So now if we go and look at it, our pie now has 50%. So we are at 50%. That is with the first sleep apnea. Now you have a 50% migraines rating. So you would go across, which now puts you to 75%. So now second part of that gives you extra 25%. So now you are at 75%. sitting at 75%. Now you would scroll down here and get to 75%. Now the next one is the Lambrusco strain of 20%. So now you would go to 20%, which you can see leads you to 80%. So now that you're at 80%, that only gave you a 5% increase. So you are now at 80%. Now the same thing, you go down to 80. Your next one is a 10% for tinnitus. 10% for tinnitus only gets you 82%. So now that's the 2% added onto the equation, basically showing and highlighting what you currently have. So now you're at 82%. Now you have another 10% cervical spine degenerative, which would basically be at 82, and then you would just go up from there. Because you were at 80%, at 82%. Sorry about that. At 82%, and then from the 82%, you are going up to 10%, which gets you to 84%. So that would just add another 2% points. And now that's where you sit at. So you are now sitting at 84% because you went from 82 to 84. Because remember, you went up by the percentage. So the percentage of the pie that you have left is 16% to basically get to 100%. So this is where it's important to notate where you're at and actually know the number of where you sit at. Because the thing is if you don't have that information, that's what's crucial to you when it comes to filing another disability claim. Now, if you don't know where exactly you're at, the combined table gives you the numbers. All you have to do is put all the claims you have and all the ratings you have and go by the numbers and add them up. And that's how you get your percentage rating. Now, keep in mind, if you're at 84, you're sitting at 84, that doesn't get you to get paid at 90%, since they round down from anything from 84 to 80 is rounded down. So you get paid at the 80%. Once you get to that 85, that's when you gets paid at the 90% rating. So that's something that a lot of people don't understand and they misinterpret, that they believe, oh, I'm sitting at 90%. All I need is another 10% to get to 100. And it doesn't work that way. Remember, if you're liking the information you're receiving in this channel and you've checked out our other videos, make sure to give us a like and subscribe to the page. We'll continue to give tutorials and different videos on how to better benefit you and calculate your ratings, and also information that provides you insight as to what can further your claim or what you need for a claim. Also remember, we do a veterans workshop every Sunday at 12 noon. This is something that we go over different topics that we just answer questions, look into it, and find information for veterans to help assist them with their veteran claims moving forward. So for this example, we will be using, again, the Title 38, Chapter 1, Part 4.25, the combined ratings table. We will be using disability ratings of a 70% PTSD, 50% migraines, 30% shoulder impingement, 10% lateral ligament sprain, left foot, 10% radiculopathy, upper left, 10% radiculopathy, upper right. And we'll be using that as the examples for it. So we would begin with the 70%. Always keep in mind that you want to put everything in order from largest to smallest to make it easier when you're doing the calculations. So with the first one, it'll be a 70% PTSD rating. So you start off with 70%. So you are here, located here. With your next one is a 50% migraine. So with the 50% migraine, that takes you to 85%. So we will go here to 85%, and we continue to update our pie. So we're at 85%. Keep in mind that once you're at 85%, since it's 5 or up, you would be rounded up and you would be paid at the 90% disability rating level, but your current rating is still only at 85. Next, you would go to a 30% shoulder impingement. So take it at 30%. It gets you to 90. So now we are at 90%. So now we still need another 10% to get to 100%, but we still have 3 more ratings to go. So with a 10% lateral ligament sprain from 90%, you basically go 10% with the first, you would get a 91. So now you are at a 91% rating. From the 91%, we have our radiculopathy. I can't say that, I'm sorry. Upper left, which is 10%, gets you to 92%. So now from 92%, you have your last rating of radiculopathy of upper right, and that gets you to 93%. So now you are sitting at 93% of a disability rating. You are getting paid at the 90% because it does not round up. And all you need from that 93 is another 30% to get to 95 to be paid at the 100% rating. Keep in mind, you're getting paid at the 100% does not mean you are total and permanent. With total and permanent, you want to make sure that, or the VA wants to make sure that your disability ratings are static, meaning that they will not improve over time and they will most likely worsen over time. And that would give you a percentage rating of 93 with those disability ratings. Documentation is key here. Keep in mind that if you just are service connected or received a 0% rating, that allows you to still review that claim, file for an increase, or at least try to get a better rating as long as you are paying attention to the Code of Federal Regulations. Make sure you gain insight as to what your ailments are, what's the highest rating you may receive for them, and what's the requirements to get those ratings. That way, when it comes to doing your VA math and you get stuck at a certain point where you are at, let's say, 86% or 92% or 94%, you know what ailment you have that you can file for an increase that can get you to that 95% to get paid at the 100 rate, or can get you higher than 95 in order to try to get you closer to permanent and total. With this example, we will be using the ratings table once again, but this time we will have a different number of disability ratings, starting with a 50% sleep apnea rating, a 30% PTSD rating, a 30% migraine rating, a 10% right hip impingement, a 10% scars to the chin impingement or rating, a 10% tinnitus rating, a 10% hearing loss rating, and a 10% left hip impingement rating. Keep in mind that some of these may be considered bilateral and they may rate them that way, so they may combine the ratings depending on how severe it is for you and how it is impairing you from doing day-to-day activities or your daily activities. That may change the percentage rating that you receive. If it's bilateral, it can be joined together, and that both those separate ratings may become one rating and get one defined rating and not have it separated depending on the situation, which varies case by case and person by person. So we will start with our 50% rating. So we start at 50%. So we are at 50. So we will go put that as part of our pie. Our next rating is of 30%. So with the 50% rating and a 30% rating, that gets you to 65%. So now you are at 65%. So we scroll down to 65. Our next rating is a 30% migraines. With that, you would go to 30% again, and that gets you to 76. So now you are currently sitting at a 76 rating with 3 of your ratings already being taken care of. Now you go to the 10% right hip impingement. 76 and a 10 gives you to 78. So now from 78, let's do our left hip impingement. That gets you to 80. So now we are at 80 and we still have three other ratings to calculate. We still have our 10% scars, 10% tinnitus, and 10% hearing loss. So we are currently at 80 with another 2%, get to 82. So we are now at 82. From 82, we get tinnitus. That gets us to 84. And then from 84 with 10% hearing loss, that gets us to 86. So now we still have 14 left because we are currently sitting at 86. But since it is 5 or above and it is 86%, we are getting paid at the 90% rate. But you still need another 9% to get to 95 to get there. So from 86 to get to 95, basically it skips this amount, but it would be another 70% to get you to at least 95, 96 in order to get paid at the 100% rate. This concludes our VA tutorial. If you have any questions, make sure to check out the Veterans Workshop video on VA math. Also, have any other questions, you can leave them in the comments and we can get an answer to you. Make sure to like, subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next tutorial video. Just Cruz signing out. Peace.